And we are live. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Good evening to you on this Election Day Eve as we are gathering with BigDSoccer.com to talk about FC Dallas, to break down recent results. And it was a big week for in Frisco for FC Dallas, and so we're glad you're joining us. We want you to know you can send in your comments if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or on Twitch. Send in your comments. Let us know your questions about FC Dallas. What you're thinking about playoffs, about the results this past week, and we will get to them. I'm your host Nathan Hill at Nathan J Hill, and there in the middle, his camera is once again out of commission. It needs some new tires or something. I don't know, some fresh paint or whatever.
Fresh lube.
Yeah, okay. Ben Lyon
Always need the lube
at Bird Turgler. Yeah, you gotta lube up your webcams from time to time. And there at the end is Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona on Twitter. Please follow us. Send us your questions. We'd love to get to them. And we do have a lot to talk about because last week I had the garbage truck on fire in our show here. This week, all is well. This week, suddenly FC Dallas looks like a potential contender. How quickly this season can change. 6 points this past week. Win over Inter Miami 2-1 at home, and then win against Houston at home 3-0, which was so delicious. So let's just get started with what we loved about these games this week, what you all saw that stood out to you that made the difference for FC Dallas. Jose, let's get started with you tonight. What jumped out at you from this incredible six-point performance this week?
Well, just the whole team demeanor. I mean, the team just, starting in the second half of the Inter Miami match, the team just suddenly had more energy. Their performances had been flat. That's basically what we were all upset about. Even in the RSL match when they got the draw, we're all like, man, there was nothing to be excited about there. I mean, even though we should have been excited for a road point, that carried into the Inter Miami match. But in the second half, suddenly the team starts to click, and they carried into the Houston match. And I think that's what's exciting for us fans is seeing the team come to life. Even though it's at home, it's something that we needed to see from this team. We see the potential, and they start to show some of that finally.
Ben?
Man, I'm disappointed in this weekend. Like Hara, I had him picked for a hat trick, and he only scored one. And he blew a couple that he should have had. So, a little bit disappointed. I mean, but it's 6 points in a week. So, how disappointed can you really be? That's just what the doctor ordered. You clinched the playoffs. You protected the home field. You looked a whole lot better in attack. Although still missing too many chances. But, that's great stuff to build on for the last week of the regular season, for sure. More please.
Well, Marcus Robinson's joining us, and Marcus, thanks for your comment. Thanks for watching. Marcus says, happy with the 6 points. I hope it's enough to get a home playoff game, but felt damn good to leave with points. It did feel so good to see this team sort of turn the corner and put some pieces together. And I kind of made a comment. I think the Houston game was likely FC Dallas's most complete game of the season so far. Dominating offensively, strong defensively. Always something to work on, I'm sure, but good stuff. But so that's the question, right? A home playoff game would be really great, knowing how this team plays away. But what would we need to do this coming week to wrap up a home playoff game?
Well, go ahead, Ben.
That's a good question. I mean, I figure it takes a minimum of 4 points because, if LA plays this weekend, they've got a tough game, and Portland's playing for, top in the West. So, what's their team going to be like with coronavirus absences, and are they even going to be able to play that game? But if you get 3 out of 2, then you're still behind them. You need to get 4 to beat them, and then also in the process you've got to catch Minnesota. So honestly, I think if you get 4 out of our 2, and they get 1 out of 1, that should be enough to leapfrog them and get that home spot. So minimum of 4. That's my final answer.
Yeah, I have to agree that it's going to take a minimum of 4, I think, to ensure a home match. But I think they could get in a home match if they only get 3 and results go our way elsewhere, namely LAFC dropping a game. Because let's face it, FC Dallas plays Minnesota. So that match right there, it's going to be basically the winner of that match is going to be higher seeded than the other one. They both are pretty much neck and neck. And a win in Minnesota at least gets you above Minnesota, gets you either 5th, hopefully the 4th seed. But I think that's it. I mean, I think if you get a win in Minnesota, let's face it, they're not a good road team, and that kind of emphasizes why it's so important to get a home match. So I think there's possibility that we get 2 points out of this, and the team may simply decide to bunker and try to steal a win from one of those guys. But I wouldn't be shocked with the 2 points and we get maybe the 5th seed and not the home seed. But who knows?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge. Just because of this team's away form, it's hard to imagine 6 points. I mean, 6 points I think would be really a strong statement and put us in contention. Still other things that could go, against us. But yeah, it's tough to imagine that though. I mean, 2 points you would typically take, and I think the team would take that if they came away with 2 points and just as something to build upon to close out the season. But this Nashville match in particular, I feel like there's something at stake for this team because of the way they have played against Nashville. And the last match at Nashville was embarrassing on national TV on a Tuesday night. And I mean, the pitch was terrible and stuff, but FC Dallas can play better than that. And I feel like at the very least they're going to want to get a point. They're going to want to show something different against that team to kind of get that out of their head. And then Minnesota, they can have success at Minnesota, though it's a tough place to play. We don't know what the weather's going to be like and stuff, come this week. Well, and the other thing, Ben, that you said that I thought is interesting that you mentioned in a chat was that, the tendency would be in a situation like this to say, hey, we locked up the playoff spot. These are 2 away matches. Let's rotate. Let's just rest some guys. But FC Dallas doesn't really need to do that, right?
Yeah, no. There's an international break coming up, so they can go basically balls to the wall this week and play their best team and keep building on that momentum that they've generated in this last week, or even 3 games if you want to go back to the game in Salt Lake, which I really like after the first half. Yeah, I mean, so they've had like 5 pretty good halves of football since then, and why stop now? Especially with the break coming up.
I just want to add, guys, that I'm looking at the schedules for LAFC and Minnesota United, and here's the thing. I think if Minnesota and LAFC both lose their next games, let's just throw it out there. Let's say they lose both their games and FC Dallas can get a point against Nashville. I think FC Dallas could then actually make the playoffs with just a point at Minnesota. I think Minnesota and LAFC losing would actually drop them below below FC Dallas. And I'm just saying 2 points, we might get a home game, provided, like I said, the results go our way. So really, it comes down to we have to watch those teams and hope they're snake bitten. maybe even a draws help us. If they don't get win, I think as long as they don't get wins, it lessens the point total that FC Dallas needs to achieve a home game. So
that's good.
It's just something to keep an eye on. I think we'll have to be cheering for Chicago against Minnesota and Portland. Those guys against LAFC.
Yeah, I think Chicago's still really fighting for their playoff lives too, so that kind of bodes well, right?
Yeah.
And Portland too is in the mix for a top spot potentially. So there's a lot. Yeah.
Like I said, those guys losing would make things a whole lot easier on FC Dallas.
Well, these were fun matches to watch. The Inter Miami match was really enjoyable. FC Dallas came back down 1 goal. We saw once again the Reynolds Hollingshead connection, which was a lot of fun, and could be the next Larry Bird, Kevin McHale kind of duo. I don't know, Jordan Pippen, whatever we want to say.
Roberto Carlos and the guy who played on the other side of Roberto Carlos.
That's right. Good stuff. But Jara scoring in 2 straight games has to bode well for this attack. I mean, there's still the black hole that is Barrios right now. He just hasn't gotten going really, and maybe this week is a chance for him to get going. So maybe that's the next question here is, if Lucci and this team can use these next 2 games well, who do you want to see get a little spurt of momentum as we think about the playoffs?
I mean, honestly, if Jara finds his top striking gear, where he's not missing these easy ones, then things change radically for this team. If Jesus Ferreira finds his striking boots, then things change radically for this team. If Michael Barrios finds his striking boots, things change radically for this team. Really, you just need one of those guys to click. But, if you get 2 of them to click, then things get really interesting. And if you have all 3 firing well, FC Dallas is going to go a long way. Like they'll end up in MLS Cup if they collectively find, another goal and a half between them every game, which is.
Don't get me too excited, Ben.
It's there for them. So they can do it for sure. I mean, they all get themselves into position to score, and they've all shown the ability to score. Barrios maybe less so than the other 2, but Chewy led the team in goals last year, and Jara has been doing it for years. So, what's up, guys?
Believe it or not, my choice for that, a player that hopefully could get going on here. I actually think that player has to be Acosta, believe it or not, because let's take a look at the second half of Inter Miami and then into the Houston game. Here's 2 things that happened that helped the team significantly, especially in the attack. One was Fafa Picault is hot at the right time, and as long as he stays hot, it makes that hole at left wing go away. All right? And at the same time, you got Santi has gotten healthy, so he can come off the bench and help spell Fafa in the second half. That's a good thing to have. For all the faults that those 2 players have, together they can combine to actually plug that hole, provided they play well. And they have played well. At least Fafa has played like it's on fire. So that's great. That's a good thing for them to have. But the other thing that happened is you notice that Ricarte was kind of he was kind of like in a double pivot next to Santos, and he was the deep line playmaker type. That means that Jesus was playing closer to a 10. All right, and so that means that whichever midfielder comes in there for these road games, you're probably going to continue to see the Santos Ricarte double pivot because it works so well in front of that defense. So one of the midfielders has to stay up high. And I'm thinking that's going to be Acosta. Well, it's either him or Jesus, really. But Jesus, he played better than he has in a while. I'll give him that. But I'm not sure that he's the long-term answer there. I have to say it's probably Acosta's their best bet. With, of course, wild card would be, throw Roberts in there and give him a shot. But, I mean, it's going to be one of those three guys in front of Ricarte Santos double pivot that works so well. We need to find somebody there because that keeps defenses honest and keeps people from double teaming Jara. And now all of a sudden, Jara is looking a little bit happier over there because he's got just a little bit more wiggle room to operate in. And it just makes life easier on the attack. So I think that's the one thing to watch is you got the Ricarte Santos double pivot. Who's that midfielder that stays up high? Is it going to continue to be Jesus? Does
good question. It's
build
a good
off of
question.
That? But my guess is it's going to have to be Acosta, is the guy that we need to get in there and get going in that spot because he can play that spot. I mean, he's not going to be, a classic number 10, mind you, but he has the skills to at least do more damage than Jesus.
I don't know. I'm not sold on him in that role. I don't think Acosta will, in the scouting reports, will drag the defenders, will occupy the defenders and scare the defenders as much as Jesus does. Not that Jesus has lit the world on fire, but Jesus is a striker, as a poacher kind of.
But the one thing that Acosta does have, and he's not afraid to do, is he's not afraid to take those 30-yard shots. And let's face it, if he keeps firing them off, even if he doesn't hit, it gives the defense something to think about. If you force him to stay up high, and I think I'm telling you, that's what I'm going to be looking for. Maybe you're right. Maybe we'll continue to be Jesus, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Acosta that's brought in up higher and has to stay higher, instead of being like a box to box. Just something to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I hear you.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I've seen him play like that. I believe the boutique description of that is the Destroyer 10, who plays advanced, and I mean that's great for the press. I mean that's really more to me like what Acosta offers. Like if you're gonna be a lot more mad on the pressing end, then he's gonna offer that. Not that Ferreira is sneakily good at pressing. That's like a kind of an underrated facet of his game, but Acosta is more of a battler and has more. I mean, he just has more teeth. So, different strengths, maybe for different game plans. I can see it either way.
I'm looking at the positions report, and I'm telling you, Jesus was pretty high. He was just basically an average position. He was just off the right shoulder of Jara, really. And I mean, he was way up high there. Like we're talking like Santos and Ricarte were like at the midfield line, and then next up would have been the wingers, and then up higher you had Jesus and Jara, more like I said, that's something this attack needs so badly. That Jesus, even though he didn't look great, he looked serviceable, and maybe that's something to build on. That's what that's what I'm going to be eyeing up as we go forward because the team looks so comfortable. That's the thing is they haven't looked this comfortable. At no point did Houston threaten them. I mean, at no point did we go, oh my God, we're going to blow this. Never. In that match, I've never seen. I mean, at least not this season. I haven't seen a match where I said, oh, we're going to win this. There's just no resistance there. Everything is just working perfectly.
I think it was around the 70th or 75th minute or something where I think Houston generated some decent opportunities in the second half. They had a spurt of energy, and there were a few opportunities that were like, really, Houston should have done better with those. But yeah, it seemed like around 68th minute or something, like Houston was just like acting like they were the team ahead, just pinging the ball around to waste time. Like they gave up.
Oh,
they were ready to go home.
Hap went and sat down. Their coach, he wasn't even on the sideline anymore. He was actually sitting down observing his team. He wasn't even on the sideline shouting instructions. So that should tell you everything you need to know about that game. It was pretty much obvious that that game was over to everybody, including Houston's coach.
Yeah. Well, I think these are the questions. I mean, and so how will Lucha use these next two games? I'm sure he will likely try to rest a player or two. I think that's probably wise. You don't want to have a guy pick up an injury, so he'll probably try some aggressive sub patterns. He'll, try to get somebody going. I mean, I hope Barrios gets going. I think it'd be nice to get something. But of course, we know at any moment he can click on, and so it doesn't doesn't really matter. And I could see Acosta just hanging back in this kind of setup and being used as a late game, defensive kind of sub to lock down a lead. So there's a lot of possibilities. Now the other big question though is Reynolds. Reynolds went off with a concussion-related symptoms. I don't think we've heard yet about his availability this week, but it's also nice that hey, they can rest him this week if need be.
And Nelson looked good coming in. That's something that we have to look at. Is Nelson came in and had a really nice spell off the bench, so that was very encouraging as we move forward. If we should be missing Reynolds for a bit.
All right. Well, good. Well, I think we've broken down those results. Let's. Go ahead.
I want to add one more thing.
Sure.
That no one's really talking about is Bressan started in Rito's spot both of those matches.
Good. I wanted to bring this up.
Good. And looked good. I mean, and I was shocked that it was Bressan starting, even though Rito was available for the Houston match, and he looked good. I mean, I didn't think he didn't have a great game, but he had a solid match, and the fact that he didn't have a great game had more to do with Houston not really threatening enough than anything else. But it was encouraging to see the Bressan Hedges pairing working quite well.
Well, Ben, you think Bressan is coming on? He's showing that he wants to stake down that starting spot for the rest of the season or even next.
Oh, I mean, I think at least some of it was because, Reto was coming off of quarantine, and it didn't really train all that much. So, not that he lost his fitness or anything, but I mean, it just made sense to go with somebody who was there practicing all week. And honestly, I mean, as far as pure defensive ability, yeah, I mean, there's some things that Bressan does better than Ziegler at this point in his career. So, it's not really that big a drop off, if any, other than the fact that, Bressan doesn't take corner kicks or
right.
penalties. But even that's kind of like a redundancy. Although we don't really have another left-footed player who can do that. Oh yeah, we do, Ricarte. So yeah, we actually. Reto in this setup is, I don't want to say redundant because he's still a good player, but you can get by with Bressan and Ricarte on the field and replace what he brings in the aggregate, no problem.
And also, don't forget that it frees up the whole Jara wants to be the penalty, PK taker. It also relieves that because with Rito off the pitch, Jara is your PK guy, no questions asked.
Sure.
So
yeah.
So I'm just saying it. I expect Rito to come back, but I'm just saying going forward, it was nice to see Bressan step up and play well in his absence.
Good stuff. I agree. I mean, I think as a coach, you want to see guys up and down your roster fighting for a starting spot, competing, and making a case for why they deserve minutes. I think that's a good problem to have. It'll be interesting to see if they give Hedges a rest coming up, or I just think there'll be a lot of questions that'll be fascinating to see. But I hope the team goes for 6 points this week, tries to build on this momentum, and sees where what's next. let's go ahead and shift to kind of what we're thinking about. The team is officially playoff bound. Yeah,
Sounds good.
it sounds great. It has the team has hung in there. It's not been the prettiest season for FC Dallas. It hasn't been the prettiest season for a lot of teams. It's been so weird, but it feels good to say that this team is playoff bound. Right now, if the playoffs went forward, if for some reason all the games get canceled the rest of the way, and I know this might get adjusted based on that stuff, but FC Dallas would have to go to Seattle and play Seattle in the first in the playoff match, which was shades of last year. Would be, but of course, this team missing Paxton, a big miss. But so a lot of questions about the playoffs here. And so I'm just getting your sense, guys. At this time right now, I'm going to take your temperature, your playoff temperature. Say if this team goes and has to play a game on the road. What's your confidence level? What's your temperature? Is this team able to grind something out and come out with a result right now? What's your gut feeling?
I mean, yeah, I think they can. Like with the setup, the way it looks, like it just passes the eye test, and they're going to remain strong defensively. Having Ricaurte back a little bit deeper actually helps give the defense a little bit more shield. I mean, he's not, quite the defensive presence of some of the other eights on the team, but he can do the job, and he can also, in doing that, like help start quick transitions. So it gives them the flexibility to go from a more attacking posture to more a defend and counter posture without having to change any personnel up, which I think is pretty good for the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with what Ben's saying, that it's with the one and done. It works. It works in favor, I believe, of the road teams. In all honesty, especially that combined with the almost no fans in the stands. I mean, if you could say, hey, you're gonna have one playoff match on the road and there's gonna be barely no fans there, you'd be like, hell yeah, I'll take that. It increases my odds. But like Ben was saying about the improved defense, right now the two best defenses in the West are FC Dallas and Seattle. Both of them having allowed 21 goals in 20 matches. I mean, the way the defense is playing right now, that's what hardens me. It says, hey, we got a shot, because let's face it, it's the defense is going to get you to that next level. And that's great. I think with the one and done and the defense, I put it this way: if Dallas doesn't clinch a home spot and they're the road, of the four teams that are likely to be on the road, FC Dallas is the one team none of those home teams want coming to their place, even despite the record on the road, because in a one and done with that much youth and talent, FC Dallas is dangerous and can stun somebody above them. You just never know which FC Dallas team is going to show up on the road. That's all. But like I said, they would be the most dangerous. They would be the most dangerous of the four traveling teams. Of course, we want the home match. Of course, we want the home match.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like your confidence, guys. I like your confidence. I think this week is going to be telling to see if this team can build upon that Real Salt Lake draw, and just figure kind of take a step forward, building the confidence that they already have from these past two games. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an away match. I think is going to be tough. I mean, it's always tough. It'll be tough on the team, but yeah, we've seen in the 3-game win stretch, and now this past week we've seen again that this team is capable of scoring in bunches, and we haven't really seen the best that is possible yet. I think this is interesting too. These past two matches, I think we have seen Ricarte with quite a few misses on opportunities that he knows he can put away and he can do better on. And he's really frustrated. And so if those things start to click, watch out. I mean, watch out. If this team can just get all those pieces together, as Ben said earlier, I think anything is possible. Just one thing though is that don't let Acosta on the fast break take a shot. Pass the ball. All right. Anyway. Well, look, I think we're just about to leave it there. Good news is Reggie Cannon had a great performance today with Boa Vista against Benfica, a dominant performance. So good stuff. And Albert Elise also played well in that game, so MLS showed well today, so who knows?
Yeah, I was a stunning defeat for Benfica, their first 3-goal loss in Liga NOS in 5 years. So talk about basically introducing yourself to the league. I mean, everyone's been saying Boavista's got all this talent and they haven't been producing, so they've been kind of like mocked and whatnot. Trust me, that win against Benfica by 3 goals, and they dominated, by the way. The whole team, Reggie looked the best he's looked, and he wasn't even close to being the man of the match. I mean, the whole team just clicked, and honestly, I thought it would take till mid-season before they clicked. I thought basically Boavista would need about half a season to gel. I mean, 14 reinforcements on that team, and only 3 returning starters. So, I mean, it takes a while for chemistry to kick in, and they've looked like that for the first, 5 weeks. Well, against Benfica, they looked like a team that the top 3 should definitely be keeping an eye on in the back mirror.
Good stuff. Well, Ben, Jose, thanks. I think we're gonna close the show there. We'll be back next week, probably on a Monday night again, because the game. So FC Dallas plays at Nashville on Wednesday evening, and then on Sunday evening against Minnesota, and there'll be a lot of concurrent games. It's a decision day, so it'll be exciting. A lot of soccer.
Hopefully we'll still be in good spirits. Although, hey, FC Dallas is playoff bound, and that matters a lot right now. They can rest a little bit easier on that at least. But all right, so thank you all for joining us. Marcus, thank you for the question. We hope to see you all again next Monday evening, and let's go FC Dallas. Let's do it. All right. Let's go FCD.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.